Hello, and welcome to the Off-Meta Umineko Read-Along Podcast, the weekly podcast where I guide my friends and first-time readers through my favorite story of all time, the highly acclaimed murder mystery visual novel Umineko When They Cry. We'll be discussing its narrative and themes, and they will work together with our community to try and solve its various mysteries. We hope you will join us on this exciting journey as we delve into the witch's catbox. I'm Kyle J, and joining me on this one-way trip to Rokkenjiima, we have our readers, James Capelli, Bardic, and joining us for the first time in a regular episode, Hayley and Becca. Welcome, y'all. So, how was y'all's reads this week?
Hi. I didn't finish. But not because I didn't want to, just because I'm busy. I thought I'd just get that out of the way straight away. But I'm still good to... ready to roll.
Yes, if there was an episode where you had to miss some of it, this is not the worst one.
Yeah.
No, I think that's fine. And also, for context, it's been 6 months since Capelli and I have recorded, so this is definitely a good way to get back into reading for sure in terms of character building, because it definitely leaves you wanting more.
Yeah, I'm very glad I didn't finish the reading before we realized we were going to recap, because I don't think I would have gone back and reread, and I'm glad I did, because I forgot so much from the reading. So, I was hoping for a lot more juicier material to start off Chapter 2, considering how Chapter 1 ended.
Me too.
And it definitely started with two characters who I didn't start caring about so much. And now I care about one and not the other.
I wonder which one.
Warped.
Yeah. Context is a hell of a thing.
You're saying there's no juicy material. I think there was juicy material in this. I just think...
I mean, compared to, again, how Chapter 1 ends, everyone's dead save 3 or 4 people who do technically die, and then we get, by the way, here's magic, or is it, and now it's like, oh, we're at the aquarium, yay! Talk about a tonal shift.
I mean, they talk about whales and slices of the sea, so...
And dessert, my favorite. Yeah.
the most mediocre midinist chocolate cake that George has ever tasted.
Let's get into our heavy fantasy detective, novel. And here's a meet cute. Everybody loves meet cutes.
Is it a meet cute if they've already met?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
That's magic, baby.
It's a very orchestrated thing, in fact.
According to Beatrice, it is magic because they're in love or something.
So true. And also, there is a crime. The crime of the relationship between George and Shannon. So we can solve that mystery.
All right, let's go. Let's dig in.
Can't wait.
So, we're bringing in 2 new readers. We had just our last episode, we did a recap all of the first episode of Umineko, which as of this moment I'm still editing because it's so long. It's like 3 hours long. I can't believe we talked so long about that.
I mean, you guys recapped all of Act 1.
We recapped the entire thing, so yeah. So it's a great way for people to, if y'all want to go back and listen to that, you get to hear Becca and Hayley's thoughts on everything from episode 1 and get a nice solid recap. I had a good time with it, so I think it's a very solid listen. So,
especially if you're a George hater, come and join us in the comments and rant about George with us.
Well, if you're a George hater, you are eating well this episode, but we'll get to that shortly. Since y'all haven't had a chance to all kind of talk together, and we haven't talked about our favorite characters since Capelli and Ben talked about it in the very first episode of this podcast, let's go ahead and, let's see where people stand. Let's go ahead and hear what people's top 3 and bottom 3 characters are as of starting episode 2 of Umineko.
I want to hear from one of our newcomers.
Go first, Becca. I did that on purpose because we were on video, although you can't see us, and Becca was about to take a mouthful of something, I think.
Yeah, let us know if y'all really, really, really want to see the video recordings as a Patreon bonus.
No, I genuinely think my top 3 is a little bit basic, but I don't care because I love them so much. Beatrice. She's amazing. Come on. Have you met her? Do you believe? Does she exist? We don't know. But is she amazing? Yes, categorically. This entire thing basically started with an old man screaming her name. What is there not to love? And then I love Kanon.
Mm.
I love that he is like stubborn. He sticks to kind of like what his worldview is. He is very rigid in like, this is what is true, and anything outside of this, it can't be true, or like maybe true for other people but isn't true for me. And that's a really unique perspective, I think, on the world that these people are living in. And he seems like the one person who holds that dichotomy in his brain, and I really like him for that. Also, he's like classic emo boy, which is very much my type. I don't know what else to say. Third place is hard.
Becca's just really into furniture.
I do love furniture. I'm a regular Jessica. What can I say? And then third, it's like a race between Shannon and Battler for me. I really like how headstrong Battler is, how sure he is of himself, how willing he is to kind of like, every time something happens, he's trying to think of it in a new way based on his stepmother's teachings, but it doesn't necessarily always pan out for him. So I really like Battler and his resistance in the form of like logical thinking, but then I also love Shannon so deeply for her willingness to believe in like love and miracles. Like both of those things really appeal to me, so I don't know which one I like more, but they're there. So I kind of cheated. Those are my top 4: Beatrice, Kanon, Shannon, and Battler.
Good choices.
Bottom 3, I don't really actively dislike anyone in this series at all. Like, Rosa sucks. She's a shitty mom. She doesn't treat Maria well or correctly at all, ever. And like, Kinzo is kind of an enigma. So I don't have any, and Krause is just like, his worst crime is that he's like really boring. So I don't have any specific like dislikes yet.
That's fair. Yeah, half the characters died before they got to do too much, so it's hard to like really judge some of them. We'll see if that changes in upcoming content.
Oh, strong disagree, but I'll wait my turn.
Why don't you go if you've got such strong opinions?
Yeah, I'll start with my bottom 3. My bottom 3. So I'm hoping Ben does this too, which is to try to compare what my top and bottom 3 were to what they are now. I don't completely remember my top 3, but I'm pretty sure my bottom 3 are, well, one of them is the same. Goda still fucking sucks.
Big agree.
Yep.
Looks out for only himself, throws other people under the bus, uses his power to influence people in shitty ways. He's not racist, but he is something ist, I guess, against furniture, against Shannon and Kanon, which maybe he's furniture too? I don't know. They've only really referred to furniture as the two of them, but Goda fucking sucks. He's done nothing that's redeemable in any way, shape, or form, except he could be a lot worse. Like, that's the only redeeming quality, is he has more, he's got further down to go. Rosa has done plenty to make me dislike her. Child abuser, neglectful, hypocritical, selfish piece of shit. But, you know, I'm a parent that then read this stuff and I'm like, no, she sucks. Which then leads into, this was a tough one for me. This opinion only came into light when Becca and Hayley joined in and started kind of sharing their opinions in our chat, which is George. George is now my bottom 3 because he abides by it. And that's not totally fair, because plenty of other people in the story, I'm sure, abide by child abuse. But the more I like when you two put the thought into my head, it made me go back and kind of analyze what George has said and done, And as I kind of read this next chapter, I guess, specifically, it's like, oh no, he's just not a good person, but he does masquerade as one because he's not violent.
Literally the worst kind.
Yeah, he is manipulative. He's got a savior complex like a son of a bitch, and that is toxic AF. So not a fan of him. So the way I kind of viewed my top and bottom was like, who do I want to see more of? Who do I want to see less of? And I could do with seeing less of those three. Except Ben and I have been saying from the start we really want to see George break and go apeshit. That has not changed. I want to see this man lose his goddamn mind. Just because I think...
Yep.
Right? I think that's a great story beat to see somebody with this toxic personality lose their mind. And is he going to be violent? Is he going to be sacrificial? Will he try to become a better person? I'm really interested to see what the story's going to do with him in that regard. So he doesn't fit into the bottom of that way I phrased it, but the other two suck. For my top three, one has absolutely not changed. Kinzo, my man, over dramatic, steals the scene. The spotlight is on him every time he's there, even when he's in the background. He captures it so well. I think he's written in such an engaging way. I cannot wait to see more of Kinzo. I really look forward to him uniting with Beatrice in some way, shape, or form. I have theories for how I think it's going to progress, which I'll save for the end of our podcast here. Which leads me into my number 2 is, of course, Beatrice. Super interesting, super engaging. When you bring somebody into the story after 15, 20 hours, and it's like, oh, they have all the power, they need to be compelling with that power. And sure as shit, Beatrice is compelling, even before the start of Chapter 2, but especially her interactions in the development of her relationships in this scene. We only got a taste of what she's like with the other so-called witches. I think there's space for her to be less interesting than them, but there's also plenty of space for her to be even more interesting with them involved. So I can't wait to get into that a bit more. But for what we have right now with her interacting on Rokkenjiima with the Urashimas, I'm really looking forward to what she's going to do. And then I kind of have a tie for my third favorite. These aren't in any ranks, but either Battler or Kanon brings my third spot. Not because I'm into emo boys, but I think I have something to work out internally with people who fight against authority. And both Battler and Kanon like straight up tell Beatrice to her face that she's full of it. She's not a good person. She's a bitch. And I'm here for it. I've seen a couple of like small spoiler images of Battler in the future, like what happens to his character, like very minor things. Like I don't know how crazy the story gets, but he seems to be living large, and I can't wait to see what the hell leads into that. Maybe it's just promotional stuff. I don't know. It's been on Steam, but yeah, like fight the power, row, whatever. And Battler and Kanon are both here for it. Kanon has more development at the end of this episode as to why he's like that. Battler's just strong-headed, and I think most good anime protagonists are good when they're just strong-headed and they've got conviction, and I love it. I can't wait to see what happens with all 4 of them.
Nice.
I'm going to start with my bottom 3, because I do feel like my top 3 are going to be the thing that we need to talk most about and probably get a lot of yells at. But my bottom 3 also will probably get yells at, as I'm doing all of the. I want to say I'm doing all these rankings based on who I want to see more of on the screen. Like, who do I actively enjoy when they pop up? I like reading their stuff.
Okay.
This is not in any way say that they are a bad character, or that they aren't well made, or they don't do stuff for the story. Because especially the people I'm about to name, very much do stuff for the story. I just wouldn't like them if I were next to them in person. And my first start is Kinzo. Has been my least favorite character since he started.
You have no taste, you have no class, you have no style.
He frustrates me when he's on screen. And that's not a good thing for me. I want more.
Exactly.
I don't want more from him. I want more sense to be made. And I don't get that from him.
It's a slow burn. It's gonna be a slow burn.
And I don't feel the burn right now. I feel the burn from somebody else, and we'll talk about that momentarily.
Oh, I can't wait.
So my least favorite character is probably Kinzo, and but my second least favorite character I think is the one I'm gonna catch the most flack from, which is Maria. I have said since the beginning, I'm not a kid person. I don't like kids. I've never liked kids. And Maria is no exception to that, as I would not want to be in the same room as this girl. Because I would struggle. Like, I would struggle personally.
I get it.
And while I know that both Kinzo and her do so much for this story in terms of moving it forward in ways that other characters can't, when I see her on the screen and she's having a breakdown, which I get, like, I get children have these, it makes my brain go, I shouldn't be here right now, even though I'm watching a visual novel. Like, and that's why they're there. And then I don't know who my third least favorite is.
You heard it here first, folks. Ben is anti-kids on the spectrum.
As someone who's probably on the spectrum themselves, that's a weird take to have, apparently, for me. I cannot. Those are the two, and then I think I just have a bucket of characters that I'm like, I think that they're going to be really interesting later, but still haven't shown anything. Which are mostly like Kraus, Rudolph, and Kumasawa. Actually, I think all three of them have shown different parts of their personality, but we're gonna get more from them later.
As I recall, Kumasawa was in your top 3.
Kumasawa specifically, yeah. Kuzu is a person where I'm like, she knows stuff. Like, she's a servant. She's heard things.
I said something very similar early on in the podcast.
Yeah, she knows shit.
I low-key love her.
And it's not that I dislike her, but it's a bucket of characters that I'm just like, yeah.
So far, they haven't done anything to bring them anywhere close to your top. I've got a crazy Kumasawa theory that I'll save for later.
So now I'll go to my top 3. These are the people that I want to see. And like Capelli was saying, like, have these people changed? I don't think so from the beginning. My top one is actually Kyria. Has been since the very beginning. She is that, like, she has that female supporting protagonist vibes that I absolutely love from games like 999 or like the Escape Room series or Danganronpa. Especially the original one. Like, she has those vibes of the characters I absolutely love to see, the ones that are actually, like, level-headed and will take time. And she hasn't gotten a chance to shine, but I know I love her. So, that's that. My second one is Jessica. I legitimately like Jessica, and I think because she has similar vibes with a more outgoing personality. I do think that while she struggles a lot with her emotions, she's also young. And overall, I could see her growing. I could see this entire experience growing into something. But every time she's on screen, I'm like, I want to hear more from you. I like her personality. I want a strong female protagonist. Which, whether or not you can call her that yet, shrug. But we'll get there.
She is the only one of the youngest generation to support Battler.
Yeah.
Like, she's the only one to be like, no, you have to deny the witch.
Battler supports Battler.
That's all he needs.
That's all he needs.
Battler does support Battler, but, like, Jessica also supports Battler, which is important.
Before I go into my third one, I just want to say my honorable mentions to Hideyoshi and Nanjo, because while I'm not into emo boys, I am into old dads. And they both fit that bill. But my third favorite is probably George. I think George is such an interesting character, and I do love anytime he's on screen because I like digging into his psyche. From the moment I saw him on screen, I'm like, this kid is going to break at some point. And I want to see it happen, but I also want to see, like, if he's just a misguided kid with terrible parents that didn't raise him right, or if there's something more going on, is what's being affected. especially when we get into this episode a little bit more in the recap, I do think that there's something actually happening to make him think this way, as opposed to just him being himself. So, I think George is such an interesting character. But yeah, those are my top 3 and bottom 3. And we'll pass to Hayley.
Why do you think he's interesting? What's interesting about him?
I think, and again, we're going to talk about this a little bit in the plot summary. He's a target for Beatrice with the magic. I think that it's part of the, if there's magic involved in any of this, the love charm. And I do think that that kind of warps his thinking. But also, in the parts, and maybe everyone's gonna hate me for in the parts in which he is, like, acting like the older person, like, trying to keep everyone calm and, like, bridge the gap between parental and younger, I just see some of myself in it in terms of, like, trying to live up to expectations. I don't know. I don't see the same kind of I don't have the same kind of vitriol that the 3 of you have for him, so I'm okay being on the other side of this while completely understanding your reasonings for disliking him, but it doesn't make me dislike him.
Yeah, I think there has to be kind of one of the primary issues with George that is inescapable is the age difference between him and Shannon. We've talked a little bit about how I think there might be legitimately an error on the author's part in how extreme that age difference is, because it's kind of comical. Like, it's just complete nonsense when you consider his age, Shannon's age, and Rose's age. Like, there's just something wrong here.
And also them classifying him as a child when he's 23.
I legitimately think that there was at some point a different age spread for these characters. But again, even if we do shrink those ages, there is still plenty wrong with that relationship. The age gap is, even if you are generous, the age gap is still pretty egregious. And then, of course, there's the dynamic between them. But all those things are more within the scope of a conversation. So I just want to say that we're going to kind of try and step away from the George is a pedophile groomer kind of stuff, because I think we've said our piece with that. I'll let Hayley have the final word, because I'm sure she wants to say.
This was the 80s, man. You gotta remember that things were...
It was a different time.
I was not around in the 80s, Capelli.
Actually, it was still kind of gross in the 80s now that I think about it.
It was like 86, right?
Yeah, like Hayley was 1 year old then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
All right, Hayley, you're up.
Okay. I'm going to start top 3, like Becca did. I'm going to go with Beatrice.
Good choice.
And I was saying to these guys before that we actually started recording that that's the only way that the word Beatrice exists in my lexicon now. Where I cannot pronounce it in any other way. It's just fact. It's just the way that word is pronounced.
Where did you pick up that pronunciation? Was that in the video that you started watching initially with the fan?
That's how
recording?
he says it. Beatrice. Beatrice.
That is how he says it. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
Wait. Let me take you back a moment. Let me take it back. Beatrice.
Okay.
How's that?
Adam is going to be so concerned.
I've been laughing for like 2 minutes.
Has Ben just quit?
Oh no! I think you broke Becca.
Yes. So for all the reasons everybody has just said, like, she's a badass. I don't know. I want to hate her as well, but
That's what makes a good villain.
she makes a great villain. She really does.
That's why I like Kinzo. So you can't just fucking hate him.
Yeah. So, yeah, and man, the voice actor for it, just the way that she laughs is just top notch. Absolutely adore it. I really do. And I don't think I've ranked my characters like anybody else has, because this is just me on a whim, which is pretty standard for my life in general. So next up, my instinct was to write Maria. I do genuinely love that kid. I just think that there's something about her that's really...
That's very fair. That's very fair.
Fascinating, misunderstood. I don't know. I guess there's like some kind of innate motherly instinct in me that like she needs she needs protecting.
You're
I
not a
know,
mom.
but I can still have an innate instinct.
We also talked during the recap episode. You really liked the way that she has this like assertive sass when it comes to her knowledge of the occult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I do. I like that. Like her and Beatrice have that in common. So yeah. I had originally. My third. I wrote down Ava and then wrote down Nanjo.
Interesting.
And then was considering Jessica and was also considering Kanon.
So you really have a top 2, and then you have the rest.
That's fair.
Yeah. Basically. Likewise, my bottom. That's a good segue, thanks.
I got you.
My bottom ones are, at the very bottom, we have George. The despicable George.
Couldn't imagine.
For reasons we've already discussed, and for more reasons that we will get to discussing through this plot summary. And then the other one was, is it Goda? Because I wrote down Toda, because that's how little I think of him. He's a toad. Absolutely hate him. Just cannot stand him. I love that we have overlap in our opinions here, but they're not all the same, which is kind of nice. It shows really well-rounded, interesting depth of character, I think, for us to all not have the exact same opinion. And then I guess my bottom 3 list continues similarly in that it contains Rosa and Kraus. And
there's a distinct reason I didn't put Kraus in my bottom 3.
yeah, I mean, he's not really in my bottom 3. And his wife,
Natsuhi.
whose name just is
Natsuhi.
gone. Yeah, Natsuhi. Don't love her. I mean, she's okay.
Really, Natsuhi.
But I actually don't like the way she speaks to the help. I hate her.
Yeah, I hate her. But then the way she kicks into action hero at the end of Act Chapter 1, I'm like, I fucking love this woman. I would follow this woman into the depths of hell.
She's an action hero with eldest daughter syndrome, which is something that I relate to. So I'm like, yeah. I'll give you a pass, but she's super
Me
capitalist.
Yeah. Yeah, she really is. I relate to her as well, but I absolutely hate her. And actually, so just back to the ones that I love, I'm going to call it Eva Yoshi because I love them on screen together.
Yeah.
I love their relationship. Yeah, that just warms my heart.
I'm surprised more people didn't say Eva in their bottoms, because I think Ava has a naturally, like, easily hateable personality for a lot of people.
I love her.
But why do you love Ava but hate George? Like, I feel like a lot of George.
I hate her as well.
Okay.
I do. That's how I feel about most of them, apart from the ones that I listed.
Here's the thing with Ava, is hers is almost like a self-preservation thing. Like, hers is almost like
it feels like it.
If I want to be the top dog, this is what I have to do. George is just, he thinks he's a nice guy, but he has so much power that he does not comprehend.
That's it.
That he can wield over other people, that he doesn't recognize as an advantage, that is an advantage that other people are beholden to that he is not. And that is sinister.
Eva knows she's a bitch. She knows what she's doing. She owns it.
Yeah, it's just lack of self-awareness.
Get that? Sure, there's lack of self-awareness.
And you could say that comes with age, right?
A young guy.
He is 23.
We'll go back into the age thing, but also possibly affected.
Listen, who I was at 23 is very different from who I was at Eva's age, all right?
And, like, affected by possibly a magical love curse. Like, again, I want to bring that in. Like,
yes.
I think that there is, if Beatrice is actually affecting any of this relationship between Shannon and George, like, that can be affecting this and changing the way that he is, like, presenting himself and putting thoughts into his mind that aren't necessarily his. Not that there isn't something wrong with it, still, I just want... I don't see the same thing because I haven't seen George just be completely, like, especially in Chapter 1, be completely dickish. Like, he stayed with a lot of the group, didn't try to wield any power, like, during that. Like, it's not like he tried to take charge or anything. Battler took was the one that took charge, and George was still just there and generally supportive.
Yeah, but he was also supportive of his Aunt Rosa, so fuck that guy.
Yes, I get that.
All right, we could go round and round talking theory. Can we get into this week's chapter?
The one thing I wanted to say about George real quickly before we move on is if you think about everything he did in that chapter, unmotivated, he, like, obliviousness is not a crime, but the fact that he has no scope beyond, like, I have a position of power over this other person that I am asking a lot of is a problem. That's just a problem.
Agree.
All right. So this week, we are starting episode 2 of Umineko, Turn of the Golden Witch. We read about 3 hours of visual novel, ending when we got to the line, the first day, October 4th, 1986. If you're following along through 2 playlists, that is videos 17 through 19. If you haven't caught up to that point yet, we've probably spoiled a lot already in our little talk there, but go and read that. Or if you're just listening to us talk about this with no context, I don't know how you can manage that. Please leave us a comment explaining how that's enjoyable at all, because I am curious. But we appreciate you either way. Our story begins with Shannon and George on a date at the Aquarium. Each wears a different outfit than the normal character sprite. Shannon, a cottage-style brown dress with a big purple bow, and George, a blue blazer, khakis, and dog tags. I guess we can add stolen valor to George's list of crimes. Shannon says that the aquarium is like a small slice of the sea, but to those within it, it can be as big as the whole ocean, which prompts George to think about how Shannon has lived her whole life on the island of Rokkenjiima. We get another lovely opening credit sequence with shots of the aquarium and of Rokkenjiima, including the addition of Beatrice to the casting list. We then return to George and Shannon's date, where they are having lunch at a buffet restaurant with a lovely view of the ocean. Both George and Shannon try to appear modest and end up only getting a small amount of healthy food before they both realize how foolish they're being and go back to get more. George laments that the cloudy weather has turned the beautiful sea view gray, and Shannon says that she is used to looking at gray seas because when she is working on the island, no matter how blue it may be, it always seems gray to her. George chastises Shannon for her flubbed romantic line, greatly enjoying being able to tease a girl he likes. After lunch, they decide to take a walk on the beach. Shannon expresses her worries about being a servant of the Ashiramiya family dating George, and how magic must have brought the two of them together. George decides to believe in that magic with her, and despite rain beginning to fall, they hold each other and share the view of the imagined deep blue sea together. What a lovely relationship. What a cute couple.
Sure.
Who could complain?
Yeah. Lovely.
There's magic involved.
No, at this point there is not.
No, there is. This is a
I thought this was before she destroys the mirror.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be hard to keep
This is
straight,
after
I think,
this.
for us.
Oh, all right. Well, either way, I can so understand why Shannon is infatuated with George. There is nothing about George liking Shannon that is not creepy to me.
Correct.
Yeah, it's... See, I feel like this is the first point where we get some of George's internal monologue, and it's just literally made me hate him even more. I was kind of trying to sit on the fence about him. Like, okay, yes, that was me sitting on the fence. In that recap. No, it really wasn't. I don't like him. But I was trying to give the benefit of the doubt, like Kyle said, about, the age differences being wrong and so on. And maybe he is just a little bit misunderstood. But his internal dialogue here was so gross that I took pictures of it while I was playing the game, because that's how I'm reading it. Where's my photos? Because I was absolutely horrified by a couple of bits.
Yeah.
When I was in elementary school, I was always the kid that got bullied. When everyone teased me, I grew nervous and speechless to the delight of the bullies. Back then, I wondered why everyone teased me. And basically, like, I understand why now, because cheesing Shannon's great. Like, what the... Bro! No!
I don't know. Like, for that one line, I don't hold anything against him. Like, my wife and I have a very...
I have 5 screenshots.
Playful...
Hayley's out here with receipts.
And I mean, yeah, I get it. Capelli, you've met Adam. My husband. We have a similar relationship and a banter.
Yeah, you guys go to lengths. My wife and I absolutely do not. And my wife and I give each other the middle finger as a sign of I love you. All right, that's where I'm coming from.
It's totally normal. That's a relationship. That's why I like Eva and Hideyoshi as well. They just like gave each other shit. But it's too early days for that. Like, he's not giving a shit. It's like, it's internal dialogue is the thing. So, yeah, I have like 5. Is it 5 screenshots? I have a few. Yeah, it is exactly 5. Because I just got more and more horrified. So, like, you can look at the message browser when you're playing the game. You can go back and look at the history. So that's what I was doing and taking screenshots. And like his just opinion of women just comes through as really gross in general as well. Like for me as a man, there's no way that I could believe such things. Basically, I'm not reading this out verbatim anymore because that's too long. And it's just, and I don't know, like
yeah. You definitely get the impression that George is definitely very repressed in certain ways, and he's not developed very much in terms of like his ability to relate, especially to women.
And like, ha ha ha, stupid woman, you didn't know how to make a romantic gesture. It's like, no, dude, she was telling you how fucking unhappy she is. My God.
Yeah, it's George is very clueless.
Yes, that's
the thing that gets me about George is that he does listen. He's willing to listen, but he is so oblivious until he is told a point blank fact that it is damaging. Like he does not care about anything outside of his own worldview unless somebody who he cares about brings it to him, such as Shannon, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Shannon recalls the unending, inescapable sameness of her days living and working on Rokkenjiima. The whispers of the witch call to her, and to escape that fate, she boats out to the small Torii shrine on a small rock outcropping just offshore of the island. She fights with herself over if she should listen to the honeyed words of the witch, promising her a way to escape her fate as furniture and become human. Taking a small spiritual mirror from inside the shrine, Shannon dashes it on the rocks and screams up to the heaven, "I kept the promise. Now it's your turn to keep your promise. Please grant my wish, Beatrice-sama!" And then the spoilerific opening cutscene plays for us once again. So as we said previously, the opening, you might have a different version of that opening depending on which version of the game you have. Some versions have scenes from later on in the question arcs included in a way that it can be a little spoilerish.
Well, Kyle, which version have I got?
I don't remember. I don't remember, honestly. Yeah, like it includes some scenes.
We saw the other witches in ours early on, I recall. I try not to look at them too hard so that I don't remember that they're spoilers.
Yeah.
On YouTube, we have met Burncastle, but only Burncastle.
And it's just the opening cinematic, so you don't meet anyone. It's just like flashes of things to come that are in the opening cinematic.
Right.
Damn. I actually watched it for the first time, like paying attention this time. I didn't watch it the very first time, not properly. I actually like read the translations.
Haley's out here just dropping bombs about not doing her readings.
That's the story of my life.
There's someone like that in every book club, so like we have to have someone like that, right? You're representing.
It's always me. Like, I hold almost no shame about this because I can hold a conversation with people even if I don't know the context. It's totally fine. No, but like, I mean, obviously I watched it, the very first intro music that we got for the very first episode, but this time I actually like read the translation of what they were singing and stuff and paid attention to the animations a little, and yet still didn't notice that there might have been spoilers in there. So I'm hoping that means that it isn't a spoiler-free version. But
I don't think it's enough that you can draw anything.
Maybe.
The secret to every anime opening is that there's spoilers if you know where to look, but if you don't know where to look, well, it's just gibberish.
Because a lot of the stuff is like, there are some scenes depicted that weren't in episode 1, for example. And so if you're like, wait a minute, there's this scene and that didn't happen, that kind of clues you in to like, this character's dead. How is there a different scene that we haven't seen with them? That kind of thing.
That's one thing I clocked super early on is the death
Right.
scene in that I know is going to happen at some point that hasn't happened yet.
I don't remember anything. I'm spoiler free.
Shannon remembers a day many years ago when George and his family had come to Rokkenjiima between family conferences. Kraus and Eva's families happily talk about George's studies in the parlor. His successes draw a sharp contrast to Jessica, much to her and Natsuhi's chagrin, causing Jessica to leave the parlor in frustration. Bumping into Shannon bringing in the tea on her way out, Shannon once again catches the rebounded ire of Natsuhi, and her service suffers as a result. George, however, steps in to smooth things over by speaking knowledgeably about the kind of tea Shannon is serving. A small thing, but greatly appreciated by Shannon. Shannon and Jessica meet up in the Rose Garden, and Jessica teases Shannon for her budding feelings for George. George then arrives, having been chased out of the parlor once Kinzo arrived so the family could discuss the terms of a business loan his parents were requesting from the head family. Shannon thanks George for saving her earlier, and they all begin discussing their recent lives while wandering around the Rose Garden. Normally, Shannon only pretends to participate in these sorts of discussions, feeling unworthy of being treated as an equal by members of the Ashirmia family, but her budding feelings for George have her enraptured by his every word. George is embarrassed by his lack of success with finding a girlfriend, and Shannon attempts to cheer him up. Jessica, enjoying the total reversal in skill in this domain versus that which was discussed in the parlor, attempts to set George and Shannon up to go on a practice date. However, Eva suddenly arrives to bring George back inside to discuss an upcoming arranged marriage meeting he has coming up. Shrewdly deducing the direction of the previous conversation, Eva leans in close so that only Shannon can hear, and says, "I'm sure you'll find a perfect match for your lowly servant girl like yourself. Have you forgotten to be grateful for your schooling? Know your place. George is the eldest grandson, carrying father's blood. He's a person who may bear the burden of the Ashirmia family someday in the future. To answer that expectation, he has studied tirelessly, entered a wonderful college, and is getting wonderful grades. Do you really think that you're in his league, you incompetent, unqualified, uncultured servant?"
That was delightful, Kyle. Thank you.
Thank you. Not nearly as good as the voice actors for Eva in this section. It's so good.
I need a version of the story that's entirely read by Kyle.
See, it's this kind of thing that makes me go, like, y'all put George in your bottom three, but not Ava. Like, again, it's that is when I liked Ava the least, was when she said that, and George,
She's looking out for her boy.
Again, unnecessarily mean, like outright unnecessarily mean. And again, good character development, love her as a character, but like, I think George's incompetence is legit in being able to find a girlfriend, and obviously Jessica feels good enough to try to set them up on a practice date. Like, there are bigger red flags to me here than George's incompetence.
I'm not going to say big disagree, but somewhat disagree, and I think Becca probably has what I want to say, so.
My counterpoint to that is that Ava has a goal. Ava knows what she wants, and she's taking steps to enact that. George is just like, he's oblivious. He has no idea of the power dynamics. He is...
It's a game to him.
Taking advantage of things he doesn't realize he has an advantage in, which is a problem. He has no, like, awareness.
He doesn't. I agree.
He has like, the most basic level of awareness, but, like, because he asks her, like, I want you to choose what finger to wear your ring on so you can tell me, but, like, that's the most awareness he has.
Sure.
But even then, that's still him telling her what to do. But I'm not going to get into that. My whole point with this is, look, I'm not going to sit here and defend classism, but from her point of view, her family has hired this girl. God forbid, if she's fucking magic furniture turned into flesh, does she know? If she does, we'll readdress this in the future. But until then, your family has hired this girl to serve at your father-in-law's estate, and she is trying to swoon and woo after the heir to the family line, because Battler is out of the question at this time and point. You gotta shut that shit down. Now, is she a little too harsh, especially to Natsuhi and to the servants? Yes, Natsuhi is worse on the servants for other issues that that woman has. I understand where Eva's coming from. Do I think she handled it gracefully, right? With poise? No. But I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. And it's not justified, but I understand. I don't put Eva in my bottom 3 because it's like, if I can understand somebody, I can connect with them, I can adapt them, I can converse with them, I can maybe start to change their mind and their perspective in a relationship.
Yeah.
George doesn't know what he's doing and why it's so damaging, why it's so talky, why the way he approaches this relationship is turning himself into a worse person. Eva's already a bad person, but she has room to grow and adapt. George doesn't know how he needs to adapt or that he needs to. Savior complex. Like I said before, the guy's got a savior complex, and people in that situation, the path to hell is the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
I especially say that as a guy that has grown up extremely clueless in a lot of relationship stuff, especially in a circumstance for me was discovering sexuality and whatnot, learning something completely different, not understanding how social norms work. I get it. I have that relation to George that I don't have to Ava, where I just found that Ava's comments were extremely rude and mean. And while nothing that George did in the paragraph that Kyle just read was a red flag to me. Especially, like, yes, he stepped in unnecessarily to help with the tea thing whenever they ran in, to help Shannon out with that. And this is before any of the breaking of the... Like, if we go back to the timeline of this all, this is before Beatrice had a broken mirror and could possibly have affected it. And nothing in that paragraph, not saying that there aren't red flags other places, because there's definitely are. Let's go back to the 5 screenshots that Hayley saved earlier. Those are red flags. I get it. But nothing in what was just said in this flashback, to me, was a red flag, because to me it seemed like a kind-hearted person that just doesn't get it, because he's coddled by his family for this reason of Ava wants him to get this money. That's where I'm going.
Yeah, I can see that.
I will say, on the surface, I understand where you're coming from. But the fact that there is a power dynamic, and the fact that he secretly does desire her and does want something out of her, that's where there is something wrong with how he acts. If there was nothing romantic between them, if he was just reaching out as a good person, as a friend, to say, hey, this person who has served my family and me to bring us commodity and comfort, I want to make their life a little easier, just because they don't deserve that, and that's where it ended, yes. But the fact of the matter is, that was not his motivation. The fact is, his motivation is, I have a crush on this girl who I have power over. You can claim being oblivious all you want, doesn't necessarily make it less toxic. And that is the defined distinction. I would garner that you have not pursued somebody in any romantic sense whom you started off your relationship in a power dynamic, in a power shift, where you immediately had authority over somebody else. That is the issue.
Yeah, and that's fair.
But that's where I think Hayley, Becca, and I are viewing it through that lens, and you're not, because you're kind of relating to a different aspect of George's morality, where it's he doesn't do this because he has power and he wants to commit that power over her, but that it doesn't change the situation, doesn't change how he's influencing her. Maybe Eva grew up in a similar circumstance, and she says, if I wish I had somebody to step in the way I just did, to stop heartbreak, to stop problems within the family, to stop issues within the money, we don't know. At this point, we don't know, and that's complete speculation.
Oh, 100%.
Would that justify her being kind of harsh on Shannon? I don't actually know. I don't actually have an opinion on that.
I think they all need therapy, genuinely.
God, yes. Except for Kinzo, who's perfect in every way.
Yeah, Kinzo definitely treated his children like shit, and that's why none of them know how to treat people like humans. Like, I don't think that Ava is a good person. I don't think she's a bad person. I do understand her, and like to try and bring the conversation back around to her a little and away from George. I agree, Ben. I don't see any red flags necessarily in George's actions outwardly there, but we don't have his internal dialogue. And if that is anything like what we saw earlier,
I don't think it's
going to be fucking gross.
I don't think it is, because I think that we saw his internal dialogue because he's affected by Beatrice and her magic.
Maybe. We haven't seen him act in any particular way to any of the other serving staff either. So that would be an interesting barometer to see as well. I am trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but...
Yeah, maybe he hits on Kanon too, and Kumasawa.
Correct my timeline. At this moment, was the mirror broken?
No.
Of everybody in the Urashima family, who needs therapy the least? At this point in the story, from what we know, who needs therapy the least? They all need it. Who needs it the least? Because I know the next answer to that, why is the answer Kyrie? It's because she's been directly involved with the family the least.
Yeah.
Right? So that's given her a pretty good cushion.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, Kyrie, Hideyoshi.
I was also gonna say Hideyoshi.
He'd be my next pick, but I don't know. He's been kind of embedded for a while, so...
How the fuck did Rudolph pull Kyrie? That's what I want to know. So blood, Urashima. So that's Kinzo, his kids, or his grandkids. Of them, who needs therapy the least?
Weirdly enough, I think Jessica.
Yeah, I think Jessica as well. Yeah.
She's a hormonal teenager. What teenager isn't at that age? I think I agree.
I love Jessica and Battler together.
Now, Battler's...
I think they're an interesting
Hold on.
pair.
The guy who wants to grope his cousin's boobies.
Yeah,
Well-
he needs therapy.
Battler, what I like about Battler is that he will take in everything else that everyone is telling him and say, you know what? That's great. I still believe this other random thing that I'm like really attached to though. Like, can y'all make sense of this for me in those terms?
Mm-hmm.
And he keeps the story going in that direction. He refuses to cede ground.
And Kyrie can do it, which is why the few scenes we get with the two of them work so well.
He and Beatrice are like an immovable object meets an unstoppable force, you know? And that's what's great.
And they're
about
both really horny in, like, weird ways.
Yes.
Yes!
They should just
So
smash.
horny.
I mean, no, because Battler's also a child, but...
He's 18!
Beatrice comes in and is like, I'm gonna make you lick my toes, and I'm gonna kiss the ass of this demon.
Oh, man. Battler's, what, is he 18? I thought he was 17.
I believe he's 18.
But, and she's like, what, 2000?
God, I hope longtime fans of this show listen.
Shannon later reflects on her shamelessness of even entertaining the thought of having feelings for George as furniture. Natsuhi chastises Shannon for being so distracted from her cleaning duties and orders her to clean the reception hall before she can eat as punishment. After Natsuhi leaves, Kanon quietly arrives and expresses the hatred that Shannon is unable to. He offers to help Shannon clean the reception hall, but she rejects him, knowing that he has his own work to do. Arriving at the reception hall alone, Shannon stops to view the portrait of the witch, Beatrice. Unable to speak aloud her pain, she prays to the formless witch instead, wishing to be relieved of her heart's suffering. However, suddenly, a voice answers and laughs. Beatrice appears before Shannon and speaks of alchemy and the classical elements. She says that in truth there is only one single element that makes up the world: love. Beatrice explains that to be human is to know love and suffering, and that Shannon is thus no longer furniture. Beatrice offers to use her magic to bring Shannon and the one she loves together as a reward for the respect that Shannon has paid Beatrice over the years. All Beatrice asks for is that Shannon destroy the ritual mirror contained in the Torii shrine that is restricting Beatrice's magical powers. Shannon declines, fearing this decision could upset the peace this island has experienced for so long. But Beatrice replies that indeed, if she doesn't break the mirror, the same unbreakable days that have passed until today will continue until tomorrow and the day after, and so forever, in perpetuity. Unless she breaks the mirror and accepts the witch's bargain, Shannon's wish would not be granted for all eternity. Beatrice says that Shannon does not have to decide now. She has set no time limit on the deal herself, only the time limit that which George creates for himself by determining who he wishes to spend his life with. While she is a witch, she is not a demon who would tear apart two who love each other. Beatrice continues to mock Shannon, stating that the girl that George has a marriage meeting with is in fact the most suited for him in the world, and Shannon the least, and repeats Eva's earlier jabs, laughing maniacally. Kanon suddenly arrives and attempts to protect Shannon from the witch's bullying. Beatrice threatens Kanon for his impudence, but Shannon convinces her to let him be. Using her magic, Beatrice marks Shannon and Kanon's left hands with a small burn in the shape of a butterfly to remind them that this was no mere dream. And with a mocking farewell, the witch's form crumbles like smoke and blows away as a swarm of golden butterflies.
Bro, this, my god. So, Capelli's saying there was no juicy shit, and I was like, this whole fucking scene.
I did forget about this scene. This scene matters so much.
Oh man, I really think that this is going to be pivotal. So that same unbreakable days that have passed until today will continue into tomorrow and the day after, and so forever in perpetuity. That is got to be so key. Like, to something, like, I'm just, the whole first episode, I got, like, spidey senses about some things. That's giving me those spidey senses again.
Are we stepping into the break of the Groundhog Day cycle? Like, that's what I fucking want to know so bad. That's why I struggle to really theorize on what's going to happen next. Has Chapter 1 happened time and time again? And if so, why? Because it seems like it ended with the witch winning. Why does it keep happening?
Yep.
Why does the mirror matter?
I have a lot of thoughts about this scene being the actual pivotal start to the entirety of the visual novel, in a sense. Like, everything before this was just prelude, and this is actually the belief in Beatrice and the wish is what gave her enough power to appear before them. And that this is what starts the entire thing, and that somehow through the magic, going to the magic I keep mentioning, that affects other people, belief in her gives her power, breaking the mirror that had stopped her from being able to take any sort of power beforehand, now, because there was someone that believed in her, she actually has enough power to tell someone to go break it, and I can grant you this thing, because she can't grant you this thing without you breaking that mirror. But she doesn't say that, because she's not gonna give up a weakness of herself.
Yeah.
She's just like, I appear all powerful right now, even though she's probably using the last of her energy that she can possibly have from that wish that Shannon gave. This entire thing is what really has, like, transformed me into thinking this is a magical story that probably has mystery elements to it, that there are some sort of rules, that there are rules to this chess game that we don't know, that I'm excited to see it, but we're starting to see some of the rules appear right now, and it actually sets up the entirety of episode 1 right here.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you're right, but I'm still on board with sci-fi story because that's my story.
Of course you are. So
I would expect nothing less.
I agree.
I have to find some hill to die on, all right? And I choose this one.
Yeah, Capelli, can we check in on Genji Watch? What do you think about Genji in this in this reading this week? Does Genji even appear at all?
Oh god, because the whole time in Chapter 1 I was saying he's in on it, right?
You were like, oh, Genji is Beatrice. That was your, like, running theory for a while.
No, here is Beatrice.
There's still something there. I'm convinced. There's still something
And I
there.
had the other one where Kumasawa was on the other side of it, that against Beatrice.
So I think I agree with almost everything that you said there, Ben. I mean, like, Becca and I spoke about ritual being a huge thing. It seemed like a huge thread through it. And we've got another ritual here of, like, polishing the frame of the painting and making a wish at the same time, right? Like, to allow this magic to come into being. And I have to say at this point, Kanon is such a bro. Like, man, my heart when he came in all, like, pissed off for Shannon for the way that Natsuhi spoke to her, like, oh, just like, My God, if they are actually furniture magic turned people, what furniture is canon?
Ooh.
Oh, Jesus.
Can I offer the difference between Kanon and Shannon?
Yes.
Kanon doesn't trust Beatrice, but Shannon lets herself trust Beatrice.
For sure.
No, the difference in Shannon and Kanon is that one of them are an armoire and the other is a desk.
Also fair.
Do we have to decide ourselves which way around that is?
Yes.
Shannon is clearly the armor.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, I do think that there's probably a last of the magic. This is the start of the story, kind of thing.
So, do you guys believe that that's why she can't appear to Kinzo? Because she's not strong enough to match his magical ineptitude?
Definitely. That she even basically hints at that. Yeah.
That's what she claims.
It also doesn't help that he has like a ward against her on his office
His
door.
fucking door.
Like he wants to see her, but then he wards against her. I
Yeah.
don't understand this man.
Sounds really compelling to find out that answer. God, I'm glad he's around to tell us.
Man, I'm glad Kinzo is a terrible character.
To go back to what Ben said is that we're now learning the rules of what's going on, right? This is Beatrice's first instance of her showing some form of weakness. Something can stop her. Something can contain or restrain her. What is it about this mirror? Apparently it wasn't put in place to stop her. It just so happened that this is where Kinzo brought her in, and then she kind of got trapped. She kind of got stuck at that point.
Yep.
I don't know if I trust that. Why would she be honest about this sort of thing? Who put the mirror there? Who built this shrine? Some guy built the shrine while he was here excavating before, Kinzo ever showed up. Like, don't believe that. It may be a half truth, but I don't trust it.
Yeah, I think that the mirror has more to do with Natsuhi, to be honest, because she gave Jessica a mirror as a trinket.
Ooh. Like one of her old ancestors got involved somehow.
Yeah, I think there's something going on there, and I think Natsuhi's headaches are maybe some kind of impact of some kind of repeated energy strain, let's say.
Ooh, I like that.
Well, Beatrice does talk about how much she likes to hit Natsuhi's head.
Oh yeah.
What if her headaches are like in response to Beatrice's magic? And what does Shannon have in her pocket throughout the scene where she's being chastised is the brooch. Now, her headaches have been going on longer than that, it sounds like. We need to know more about when they started. If they started before she even met...
Kraus?
Kraus,
thank you. That would be telling.
I can actually answer that question. The answer to that comes from a piece of supplementary material that we're probably not going to cover. It's very oddly specific. I happen to know. I'll just tell you. Based on that, it's like because there's when they released some of the compilations of the games, there was occasionally here's little documents that are included in the notes section. You could read a few things. One of them was a note that is a little story about how when Natsuhi gave birth to Jessica was going to be destined to have immense headaches, and Natsuhi took on the pain of her daughter's headaches into herself.
Boo. That ruins my theory.
A lot of those little stories are not canon. They're little side kind of content. They're not necessarily canonical.
Well, there goes all that talking. Anyway, what we see also here is Beatrice places these bruises on Shannon and Kanon. This is the first time we've seen her directly inflict harm on anybody in any way. Can you really call it harm? Because the whole thing with Chapter 1 is how did the locked room murder of Eva and Hideyoshi happen? Was it really their murder? Was it really death? Was it really violence brought out directly by Beatrice? We're going to find out in the future, I'm sure, but I don't know. If she's so weak, why does it cost so much to manifest? I understand that the mirror was, cast out a while before Chapter 1 takes place, and Beatrice says a lot in the days leading up to Chapter 1 about how she's still very weak and her strength is still coming back. I don't know, man.
The stake of Asmodeus and the stake of Beelzebub. Ava into the ocean.
But if I did have to put stock into it, I would say, as the rules of the world begin to develop, Battler is going to find like, haha, you weren't strong enough. The rules that as they are not lining up with the story of events as you've given it. Therefore, you are not really who you say you are, even within this magical realm and this magical world. What say you? And that's how we're going to get some more development, more interest. Kyle's smirking. I think I'm onto something.
Oh no, I'm not listening to you.
Sick burn.
Nailed it.
Story of my life.
Oh man, do you remember, like, Kyle, you've made me really nostalgic for a time when we used to buy video games and there would be stuff inside of a box.
Oh yeah.
And you would get, like, maps with GTA.
Have you played the game Tunic before, Hayley?
No.
Oh, you should. If you're nostalgic for that, that's basically what the game is about. It's so good.
The stuff you get in the box.
Mm-hmm.
I bought Tunic for Off Meta Offline last year, and then my Switch had like a 5-minute battery. And once I got it fixed, I haven't had the time to go pick it up yet.
So the entire premise of Tunic is that you're playing a game that's in a different language, and you uncover pages of the manual that would have come in the box of the game that like some other child has written their notes in, like it's an old Legend of Zelda game.
Oh, I love it.
It's so good.
My God.
And
All right, don't tell me anymore. That's enough.
Oh,
Let's get back to it.
I own a copy of the book. It's so good.
That sounds so amazing.
We should keep going, though.
Yes, Capelli, what were you saying? I wasn't listening.
I'm done. Let's go to the next section.
Fuck you!
I would never give away things with my reactions. How dare you assume?
I think I got some sort of reaction out of you when we recorded episode 1, but I don't remember what it was.
Probably, yeah. Y'all were surprisingly close on a couple of things, so there's probably some stuff in episode 1 that's very true.
I'm excited to go back and be like, what were we right about? Ugh.
Yeah. Me too.
Alright, returning to the present, Jessica chastises Shannon for not taking things further with George on their date. Jessica laments that she herself has been unable to find a boyfriend before succumbing to a bout of asthma. After recovering, Jessica sorrowfully asks Shannon if there is something that is wrong with her that is preventing her from finding love. Jessica cries and Shannon comforts her. The next day, Shannon is wandering the rose garden and encounters the witch again, as she occasionally has since breaking the mirror. Beatrice reminds Shannon that her recent romantic successes are all due to Beatrice's magic. Shannon is grateful to Beatrice, and the two have a friendly talk. She even offers Beatrice some cookies that she had bought for her as a souvenir, which Beatrice enjoys to Shannon's amusement.
All the stuff with Jessica, it's like it's hard to find the line between what's like significant for plot or character, and just like, is she just being a teenager? Because I think back to like how I was when it came to like my internal monologue with romance as a teenager, and it's just like this connects to me on an uncomfortable level, and the less I think about it, the better.
Let's dig deep onto that, Capelli.
No, I was a lonely child. I was a very lonely boy.
Me too. I was also a very lonely boy.
Did you say you were a lonely boy?
That's what you said, isn't it?
Yes.
And I said
why
me
would you be
too.
a lonely boy.
I wasn't a lonely boy. I was a girl.
Okay, that's where I got confused.
Yeah.
Damn genders.
Stupid.
Is that a golden butterfly in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
We need to keep going.
Gender exists. There we go.
Oh my god. Okay.
Oh, God.
Shannon attempts to return the magical golden butterfly brooch that Beatrice had given her to allow George and her to get together, saying that she would prefer the future of their relationship to be natural. Beatrice says the brooch is now proof of their friendship, and so Shannon should instead hold onto it and simply no longer wear it. The Beatrice of now is formless and can only be seen by those with high magical awareness, so she enjoys being able to spend time with Shannon. Only Shannon and Kanon can currently speak with her. Not even Kinzo can speak to her, despite his best efforts. According to Beatrice, she had responded to Kinzo's desperate summonings on a whim, and decided to grant him her gold. However, his attempts to love Beatrice are what have brought her to this pitiful state we see now. Shannon's newfound happiness has even started to positively affect her work, but Kanon is still worried about Shannon's interactions with the witch. Beatrice flushes Kanon out of his hiding space and leaves the pseudo-siblings to talk. Kanon worries that Shannon has become indebted to the witch, and as furniture, Shannon shouldn't be acting like this. Shannon refutes Kanon and declares that she has become a human and that Kanon can too. She points out to the sea and asks Kanon what color he sees. He replies that it's an uninspiring dark gray, but Shannon says that to her, It's a deep blue. After all, without love, it cannot be seen. She gives him the golden butterfly brooch, which he reluctantly accepts.
There's got to be something to that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's a few things in there that I think there's got to be something to. I'll let Capelli talk about the brooch, but the fact this is where it talks about like her not being able to get it, Kinzo. Like, is that because of the ward? Like she says she's tried and she can't.
I don't think it's all true.
Is it just because she's weak? Who knows?
One might even be directed to think that it's a sign of respect to him, to like that she's like, he doesn't want me here, I'll stay out. Or it could be more like, that's cute, you think I can't go in that room? Well, I'm not gonna bother. I mean, the opening scene of the whole game is Kinzo in his study lamenting that he can't see her, and like, even though you've no context for the story, like, it still feels like she's in that room.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get something about that there, which I think is actually going to come into play within Chapter 2. But as far as the brooch is concerned, I think the brooch is nothing.
Really? Okay.
I think the brooch is completely symbolic. I think the brooch is her, like, explaining. It's like maybe almost a placebo effect, right? I don't think she's if it's manifesting her power like we think it is, to even manifest in front of these people, what is having this trinket gonna do? Then that can go back into, what were the charms that protected the kids from being one of the 6?
They were scorpion charms of the Circle of Mars.
So the scorpion charms, that we have no idea what that is about. Like so I think trinkets can be something. I think this specific amulet doesn't necessarily do that. Later on, when Beatrice talks about the brooch being destroyed, that, oh, well, now the magic on it is gone, like that. I'm like, that doesn't seem like that's how the rules of the game work from what you explained to Shannon. So at some point, a lie is being shared by Beatrice.
I agree that there's a lie, though I think it's kind of in the opposite way, that I think that the brooch is actually super important and actually helps manifest her power in this plane of existence, in a sense, that it's almost like a focus.
I can see that too.
As long as the brooch is there, and it is like the people are aware of the brooch, that means belief is in her because the brooch exists, and therefore the belief.
Okay, yeah, I see.
Yeah,
I think of that like you and I kind of thinking along the same lines. Yeah. I think you're just saying it better than I am.
But I do think that the brooch itself then gives her a focus to channel her magic to help. I'll put in quotation marks all around the screen. Help Shannon get George, or help Kanon get ... because she's able to focus her magic through that and do the influence that she can because it's there. I do think that it's maybe not magical on her own, but it instead gives her a place to kind of jump off from to enact a bunch of stuff. That's my feeling on it.
This whole interaction between Shannon and Kanon, and really their whole interactions in Chapter 1, makes me feel like they have the only non-toxic relationship in this whole story. I maybe Battler and Kyrie is fine too, but like every other relationship is like unhealthy in some shape or form. For the most part, what do Shannon and Kanon have for each other? Respect. A lot of characters don't.
Hideo and Eva.
They respect each other, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
I'd say that's the only other one, I think.
See, weirdly enough, I think Kyrie and Rudolph.
Yeah, maybe.
Not that we've seen much of them, and I don't think that we can actually speak on that fully just yet, but I see that Kyrie and Rudolph actually, like, Rudolph especially was a very not great person for a long time, and Kyrie kind of has helped find the parts of him that are actually decent and bring them out.
It's going to really matter if, like, what kind of a man has Rudolph become since what we know about what happened, like, back then and who he used to be.
I wonder what impact that'll have on Battler as well.
That's what I'm interested in for sure.
Yeah.
He's got to get to a place where he can accept his father growing.
I don't think that's happened yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think he will. I don't know. He seems to be willing to change his mind on things. But
we have almost 90% of this story left to go. I'm sure it'll happen.
But he's also been shown not to change his mind on a few things.
oh, that's true. Yeah.
His stubbornness
mean-
is one of Becca's favorite qualities of him. So
Yeah, I mean, because his relationship with his dad has been fraught for a while, right? That's why he was living with his maternal grandparents.
Kanon finds Kinzo wandering the rose garden. Him leaving the study is a rare occurrence. Kinzo asks Kanon to leave him and to his thoughts and to tell no one of his location, and returns to mumbling and calling out for Beatrice. While Kinzo cannot see her, Kanon is able to see that the witch is there, just behind Kinzo, pitying him.
If no love equals no magical ability, why did he used to be able to see her and now he can't? Right? I don't feel like whatever he felt for his wife at the time is going to be a huge difference between then and now, because now, and if he did love Beatrice, I would not say he loves her anymore. He is obsessed with her now. And is that a matter of the change in him? Is that a matter of the change in her? Because if she's been trapped on this island because of the mirror limiting her powers, but now the mirror is gone, and if she does she choose to appear to Shannon and Kanon at the end of chapter 1, the kids? Why does she not appear to Kinzo? Is it a choice? Is it an inability? Is it because of her? Is it because of him? Like, there's so much about that interaction that we need more understanding of the rules at hand.
Fair.
It's kind of sad.
Oh, yeah.
It is. It's a bit of a tragic thing, you know, and who better to have a tragic backstory and current story than the Shakespearean-influenced guy, you know, Kinzo the man himself. Will this guy get a happy ending? I don't think so. Maybe he has to grow. All of them have to grow. Will they? Really depends on where the story goes.
He could grow a tree out of his grave. So.
Very where the red ferns grows, sort of a...
Ashes make great fertilizer.
Yeah. But if this day's been repeating over and over, the ashes sure have been collecting. Groundhog Day, right? When's Badler going to learn the piano? You guys aren't thinking about the long story.
damn, you're right.
Jessica's school cultural festival also happens to be around the same time as the Yoshimiya family conference. For many of Jessica's friends, it serves mainly as a showcase of their boyfriends. Still unable to find a boyfriend, despite what most of the school thinks of her, Jessica has decided to follow Shannon's advice and create a fake one. She recommends that Jessica invite Kanon. Jessica clearly has feelings for Kanon and is embarrassed to ask him, but eventually relents. Kanon doesn't wish to involve himself with Jessica, feeling it inappropriate, but agrees to help protect Jessica's image at school. Back on the day of the festival, Kanon arrives sporting a fantastic black trench coat. Jessica directs Kanon to where she will be performing for the cultural festival, and he waits and thinks about how unrestrained Jessica is at school. Kanon is clearly uncomfortable being around so many people, and waits for Jessica's performance to begin. Jessica appears on stage, wearing an outfit that seems to be inspired by the British flag for some reason. Apparently, Jessica has been staying late at school recently learning how to play the guitar in preparation for this event. Jessica, or Jessie, as her school friends call her, begins to sing and play guitar with her band to the cheers of the crowd. Kanon is shocked that he never knew this side of Jessica, recognizes that life on Rokkenjiima kills your sense of self. Kanon finally begins to realize there might be more than just life on Rokkenjiima.
Oh, man. What emo boy doesn't love a girl that can play guitar, right?
Oh, quick note. In this version, the song is changed because it's sung by different voice actors and stuff. In the original version, the song is a double entendre about having small breasts, liking small-breasted women and like sweets.
Oh.
There's a joke about Jolly Ranchers.
You could
in there
just leave
somewhere.
that silence hanging there in the podcast, I think, because that
I'll
probably
extend
says
it in
a
the
lot.
cut,
Like,
yeah.
what? Yeah.
Oh.
Righto. Well,
Continue.
I mean, I think at this point, my note was like, did Jessica just become the most relatable character in the story? Like, somewhere deep within, she understands the toxicity. She understands the confinement of the life she was born into, and she doesn't want it. She doesn't want the pressure of being a good student. She just wants to be herself, and this is her showing who she is to the first person from, you know, within the family circle, so to speak, the person who she wants to share with it most. Jessica's a cool cat, and I hope she gets what she deserves, because she deserves it. I want her happy. I want her happy.
That's why Jessica is definitely in like my top 3. I just think that I almost wish she was the protagonist and not Battler, but I understand why Battler is a more interesting protagonist.
Because the author is sexist.
Well,
The author is clearly writing a sexist time period.
He's writing George like George is a good person. I think that's kind of indicative.
wow.
I won't rehash.
All right. Returning to Rokkenjiima, Jessica once again has to return to her usual home self. Saddened when Natsuhi praises her for her performance, only realizing that she meant the student representative speech she gave to open the cultural festival, Jessica retreats to the Rose Garden to sulk. Kanon compliments Jessica's singing performance and realizes that he was jealous of her freedom. Jessica explains that she is only able to survive the restricting life she lives on Rokkenjiima because she has created another version of herself that is able to live outside of those bounds. Jessica tries to convince Kanon to do the same, and put aside his self-proclaimed moniker of furniture sometimes and live. However, Kanon rejects her. She as a human may be able to create an alternative self and fly free, but he as furniture never could, and to continue to talk of such things only creates more pain for him. Jessica apologizes and leaves in tears, leaving Kanon alone in the Rose Garden. Suddenly, however, Beatrice appears, mocking Kanon. Kanon takes the magical golden brooch out of his pocket and stomps on it. He accuses Beatrice of being a demon who enjoys deceiving those who can never be joined in love. Beatrice admits that now Shannon and George's love will become unfulfillable, just as she hoped, but for now, she has moved on to tormenting Kanon. Their suffering is her compensation for allowing them to experience love in the first place, just like Kinzo. Beatrice espouses that someday soon will come the day when she properly revives. While the mark on Shannon and Kanon's hands may have faded already, that day is surely coming, and the door to the Golden Land will be opened once again. Beatrice vanishes from the scene, but continues to monologue. Apparently, in this rock-paper-scissors scenario, Beatrice cannot control furniture, and thus the game is afoot. The various would-be lovers lament their situations, and Beatrice laughs. Finally, George tells Shannon that he intends to ask for her hand in marriage once he establishes himself in the world. If she accepts his engagement, which he plans to do at the next family conference, he will announce it to all the family attending. Beatrice rejoices at the fruit ripening right in front of her. We then finally reach the first day, October 3rd, 1986, and that is where we will leave it for this episode.
Has Kanon never heard of upcycling furniture?
That's very funny.
Thank you. You laughed.
I did, but my microphone was muted.
Yeah, I'll add an F in the edit. There you go.
Yeah, thank you.
Here, Kyle, use this laugh.
I'll just cut it from one of my jokes, because I know those are genuine laughs.
Like that. I do think the rock paper scissors scenario is actually really interesting, and again backs up my theory that for some reason she can affect George but not Shannon or Kanon in a lot of ways. So I don't know. I'm really interested to figure out who's the rock, who's the paper, and who's the scissors if they go into that.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I didn't read this bit technically, I'm digesting what you're saying. You're saying that you think that there are people represent rock, paper, scissors.
I not maybe not like explicitly like they're gonna say it in the thing, but the rock paper scissors implies that, and Beatrice cannot control furniture, so technically furniture can, like, their belief, those not in the Hiroshima family, like both power her and can stop her. She can control the Hiroshima family, and the Hiroshima family can control the furniture. There's that weird triangle happening right now that I think is what they mean by the rock, paper, scissors.
Yes, I believe it's witches, humans, and furniture, or like the three sides.
Yeah, because
Right.
Kinzo's whole deal with Beatrice is he's like, give me the money, which is basically give me power, and everything that I get from it is yours, including wealth, land, and my children, and they're like that's sort of how he goes on. So I guess maybe in a way, maybe Battler's mom, maybe Rudolph is not Battler's dad biologically. I don't know. I think that's something we've maybe theorized before. But
Because we still have that weird hanging thing where he said he was going to die. Yeah.
if this is a Groundhog Day scenario, I wonder if Rudolph had a memory or connected some sort of piece within himself. Like, are we going to follow the same chapter from other people's perspectives? And I think at some point in Chapter 2, Battler is going to figure out the significance of the characters that refer to themselves as furniture.
How old would Maria have been at the start of this? So, because she would have only been like a toddler kind of thing, right?
Well, like 6
Isn't
years
she
ago.
like-
The start of this. What do you mean? The start of what?
Yeah, when this is set. So when because they're all younger.
The rubbing of the frame released Beatrice first, I think is what you're referring to.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're saying when Beatrice reveals herself to
Shannon and Kanon.
Shannon and Kanon, how old is Maria at that point?
We don't know for certain how many years it's been.
We're not given a year. We don't know. I would say she's alive, obviously.
Because, they're like younger teenagers, basically, aren't they?
Yeah, I would say it's somewhere between like 4 to 6 years ago is a decent range.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe
So
even
she would have been
less.
starting grade school.
I have some questions I want to pose. Not that I have any answers to them, but things that I'm thinking about that still are very much outstanding in this. One is where does Maria start with this? When do I maybe this is going to be a future prelude, like we're getting a prelude right now to these four characters of Shannon, Kanon, George, Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
Where does Maria start with all of this? And I would also say where does Genji start with this? Because Genji can also see Beatrice. If we go back to episode 1, whenever they're talking in the kitchen, Genji very much says that like himself, Shannon, and Kanon can all see Beatrice, and literally could see her standing there while Battler was talking to them.
Kumasawa as well,
Battler
yeah.
couldn't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still parts of this. Like I think that each episode, at least in this questions arc, may give us a little bit more insight into how this story is set up, and then play through like another Groundhog Day scenario. Is kind of my thinking, and that eventually like we'll have a lot of puzzle pieces to see how, after enough, Battler is able to put puzzle pieces together because he keeps denying her existence and seeing these different pieces. I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at the moment.
A solid theory.
The reason I'm asking about Maria, because you guys won't have seen it yet, but I was talking about how I think that Maria might well be some way intrinsically linked to Beatrice, in that, like, maybe Kinzo had, like Capelli was saying, about offering up his kids and his kids' kids and so on, and now thinking that Battler had been saying how she seemed like such a, I hate to use this word, normal young girl the last time he'd seen her, which was like 6 years prior, right? So she would have been, I don't know, can't remember how old she is. She's 9?
She's 9, yeah.
So she would have been, yeah. And if maybe what comes across as autistic is actually something more magical and witchy.
Maybe.
I think you mean sci-fi.
Okay, yeah.
We're talking about how her power is so limited. How often does Maria come to the island? Like we're pretty much told it's pretty rare. There is the mystery of who her father is, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That Rosa just like refuses to talk about.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's something there. We'll figure out more.
And I just wonder if, like, something with Maria has can lend itself to giving Beatrice more power.
Is this a time loop story? Like that's a big part of it.
Well, we're about
and
to
if
start
so,
day 1 again.
How big is the time loop?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and is this day 1 of the second cycle? You know, is this the first time that someone's finally broken through? Like, I would be very interested that Battler finds out that Rudolph has also like interacted with Beatrice somehow.
I'm interested to see if there are any changes. Like, what exactly are the big breaking points, if there are any, from, and who influences those changes? Like, is it Beatrice as as Hayley puts it, which I will never say again. Or is it Battler because you know that now he's kind of like in a weird liminal space talking to Beatrice, like.
It's gonna come down to who's retained memories of it.
Yep.
Which I think is going to be Battler and maybe Maria, and obviously Beatrice. If it's Battler, I expect him to pretty early on go to Kinzo, be the one, be like, I'll go get grandfather out of his room, and say something about, like, I have spoken to Beatrice, I know what's going on. Probably not going to work immediately, but who's going to be right there at the door? Kraus? Who's going to say, like, wait, you believe in father's gold and all that? Because what was the significance of him showing Natsuhi the gold bar in chapter 1? It never got brought up in chapter 1 again, even though Natsuhi was around for pretty much the whole time. So that's what I think is going to happen to kick us off into the beginning of day 1. And like the whole thing is like Kinzo thinks so little of Battler because he fled, he ran away. I mean, he was a kid, but Kinzo obviously has no tolerance for kids like trying to cope with trauma on their own, which is very indicative of the generation that Kinzo would have grown up in. But I think that's where we're gonna head into this. I think that's gonna be the thing that catapults it in, right? Because who does Battler reach out to connect if he does retain some sort of memory? Is it gonna be he pieces things together throughout day 1 and day 2? Are the 6 still going to be around? Are 6 people going to die every time until a cycle is broken? There's so much more that we got to learn, and I think Chapter 2 is going to tell us a lot about, like Ben mentioned earlier, what the rules are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just hanging in for the ride, man. I don't want to speculate about what happens next. So long as Maria takes the piss out of Battler for his reactions on the plane and the boat, I'll be happy.
I think the two of them will absolutely be like the main yin and yang, the conflict of the story moving forward.
So, I know I talked a lot earlier, and this is my last little piece for this episode will be, I want to see what Maria really is, because if you remember at the end of episode 1, there's that letter that gets sent that someone finds, and that it's like, this is written by Maria. And it's like the most out of character thing that she did the entire time. Like, I want to see what that Maria is up to.
Yeah, is that a Maria that survived in that same cycle where she's much older?
Yep.
Does it mean that the Maria we know is not the real Maria?
I'm so interested in that Maria more than I am in the current version that we see.
All right. Well, we shall see. I think the next episode will definitely elucidate a lot about... I said this last time, the structure. I forgot that this chunk of reading really was just like a leading up to the start of potentially the cycle over again. So we shall see. The next bit of reading is going to be a bit of a longer segment, about 4.5 hours of the VN, ending when we get to the second day, October 5th, 1986. And that is videos 20 through 24 of the YouTube playlist. So,
oof, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a bit more reading for this time. I wanted to stop there because I think it gives the best stopping point.
That's day 2, brother.
Yeah.
People dead.
Yeah, if we followed the same cycle, that will mean 6 people dead. So we'll see if that's the case.
But we won't know who.
That's true. In theory, you wouldn't know yet. So.
It's all the kids this time.
All right, Hootie, let's just get a quick theory out. If it does follow the same path, the same structure, what 6 people do you think are not going to survive this time?
Oh, shouldn't you guess that next time if you're not going to...
No, I need to guess now. All right, I'll just rapid fire. I think the 6 people who die at the end are not going to be there. So I think that's going to be Nanjo, Genji, Kumasawa, Kinzo. I feel like if they can't kill off Kanon that early, there's so much more they can do with him.
They killed off Shannon that early in episode 1.
Maybe Shannon again. I think Beatrice appeared to her and said, a 6th person needs to die. It's going to be George unless you step in. I think that's something like that is what happens.
Because it was supposed to be Natsuhi because of the scorpion thing?
Right, but I guess George had the scorpion as well.
I don't think George did, no.
I don't believe he did. I think there's only 2. One for Jessica, one for Battler. And then Battler gave his to Maria, which is why she theoretically survived at the parlor when the other three died in there. Allegedly.
Allegedly. That implies magic is involved, and I'm not convinced.
She killed them.
Okay, well, so if you're not sold on the magic,
it's a sci-fi story!
there's only one more thing I really wanted to talk about. A new phrase came up in this episode. Without love, it cannot be seen. Do you have any thoughts on what that might mean?
I didn't clock that as an important thing. So now that you're mentioning it, now I am. So
Really? Like, that's the whole thing. Like, it being magic. It being the simulation they're all in, because it's a sci-fi story. However you want to
All
view
the
it.
Jesus references, right? Without love, Jesus cannot be seen. Maybe it's just
Right.
like a religious...
Well, as we all know, God is love. I'm now speaking at your wedding. God is love.
We won't get into religion deeply here, but that is the whole purported message of Christ, right? He brought love into the world in a way that no one else ever could. So, in that sense, does the love that Shannon and Kanon have for each other enable them to connect with whatever power source, power, ability, magic that Beatrice has? Is that why she was able to present themselves to her? Is that why Kinzo can no longer do it? Because he no longer loves Beatrice. He's obsessed with her. But that means, like, it specifically says that Natsuhi and Kraus cannot see her at all, even if she wants to be. Mm-hmm. But what happens at the end of chapter 1 is Natsuhi fires at Beatrice. She sees her. It has to be. We don't see it on screen, so it's not sure. Is it her love for the kids that manifests, that changes? Beatrice is so certain that these two cannot see her, and that changes. Why does that change?
Because of that moment with Jessica, Natsuhi and Jessica had, right? Where there's like a genuine moment of love there. And I think you might be right that it's
Because
not
they
about the
connect.
love between George and Shannon, it's the love between Shannon and Kanon, which is why that they can both see her.
Yeah. Because Kanon doesn't have love for anybody except for Shannon.
I don't think that's true.
Well, who?
He just keeps it tightly under his hat, like all good emo boys should.
I don't know if he has. Not the capacity isn't the right word, but like the people. Like I don't think he has the resources to. Like
He just has Shannon.
I mean, it sounds like they grew up in a group home, though. Like there's no way that they live.
Yes,
they
it
live
does.
on this island
They're
the whole time.
only two. I think so, unless because there's also a line from Beatrice that says Kinzo may have done something to make them from furniture to servants or whatever. Did he like rope them into the deal that he's made? That he made some pact. But then there's the rock paper scissors thing where she can't control furniture. I don't know. But she says one line of like, Kinzo, what was it that you did with these people? Right? That's what Kyle likes, that I'm thinking about something. You're not giving anything away, but you're smiling, which tells me I'm thinking the right thoughts. I'm onto something. I don't know what. Anyway, like Battler and the other kids are able to see her at the end there as well.
Because they've bonded, trauma bonded.
They trauma bonding, right?
That's
yeah.
not love, though.
Yeah, I could see that too.
I mean, it can lead to love, but it's not love.
If you're family, well, if you're already family, like they already do care about each other, the four kids. Even if they think Maria's a little off-putting, they still care about her. I think Battler cares about Maria more than George and Jessica do. Not to say they don't. I just think Battler does care a bit more in his own way.
we'll see.
Lots to think about.
We'll see.
All right. Well, that I think is where we'll leave off this week. Glad to talk to y'all. Y'all have some really fun theories, and I'm really looking forward to y'all reading even more of the story. And you all at home, I hope y'all continue to read along with us and continue to theorize with us, and I hope y'all have been enjoying what we've been saying. So, looking forward to hearing from y'all as well. So remember to think off meta.